The main antagonist of the Zelda series has evolved over the past 30 years. He began as a mindless pig, but now he can be regarded as a deceptive warlord. Even though he's fated to clash with the hero, his cunning ways of luring Link into traps is one of his greatest strengths. Today, I'll be discussing which Ganon I believe is the best at outsmarting his destined foe. What's up my homies, it's Edible Incredible. Let's begin with the first appearance of Ganondorf. In Ocarina, he fools the King of Hyrule by gaining his trust. Then lets Link and Zelda think they're one step ahead, but in reality, he let their scheme play out. He didn't conquer the world purely with force, but more so by letting his enemies do his dirty work. Even at a young age, Ganondorf proved to be a master not just at dark magic, but in deception. Although his fatal flaw at the time was his greed, he could have been content with the Triforce of Power and his control over Hyrule, but he wanted those final two pieces. And his second mistake, allowing Link to run around as he waited for Zelda to show herself. This plan did work, but if he knew of the power and skill that Link was rapidly gaining by clearing the 5 temples, he would have challenged him right after he stepped out of the Temple of Time, fresh off of realizing he's now in an adult body. I feel Ganon would have stomped Link at this time. Next, let's discuss Twilight Princess Ganon. In his version of history, he was a victim of circumstance. Because of his desires to take over Hyrule, he unintentionally caused Link to report back to Zelda, after being defeated by him 7 years in the future. Of course, he had no way of knowing that this alternate reality existed, but because of it, he was brought to his execution. The royal family revealing his future plans only fueled his hate towards them. Luckily for him, he was destined to covet the Triforce of Power and was able to break free of his execution because of it, which resulted in his arrival into the Twilight Realm, where he met someone he'd used to escape, Zan. I feel this Ganon's flaw was his attitude towards Link. Sure, he had no way of knowing his blood was that of the hero who revealed his plans back in Ocarina, but his attention seemed to be focused on Midna. He even calls Link her little friend. Now, let's quickly brush on Calamity Ganon. I know it seems he's just another mindless monster, but I don't think that's completely the case. In the cutscene where the King of Hyrule reveals himself, he explained that Ganon responded with a plan beyond our imagining. Now that doesn't necessarily mean Ganon was behind the whole plan, but he does clearly take over the Guardians and Divine Beasts. Even if the Yiga clan were the cause of his return, he still decided what to possess. And lastly, let's talk about Wind Waker Ganon. Opposite of his Twilight Princess counterpart, this Ganon went through the events of Ocarina, so he knows how strong the hero with a fully powered Master Sword can be. Because of this, once he returned from his imprisonment under the waves, one of the first things he did was murder the sages who gave power to the blade. Then he began his search for the one who carried Zelda's blood. In doing so, he captured Link's sister, which proved to be a smart move because it forced Link to get involved. Link stormed his fortress to save his sister, but Ganon discovered Zelda's descendant in the process. As Link gathered the pieces to the Triforce of Courage, Ganon got his paws on Zelda. When Link reached Ganondorf, he threw a puppet version of himself at Link, so he wouldn't have to transform himself to presumably save energy for later, as well as to test Link's abilities. Link's victory over the puppet proved to Ganon that this boy was in fact the current hero. Since Link was already exhausted from the puppet battle, Ganon was able to smack him and pull out the Triforce of Courage. This completed the Triforce. Everything was finally lined up for Ganondorf. The one mistake he made was simply not touching the relic in time. Then again, I don't think he knew the King of Hyrule had these teleportation powers, but it's not a valid enough excuse for someone who's worked his entire life to get to this moment and makes a dumb decision that's just as bad as
whatever I see, I shall devour.
Got him!
The only explanation I can think of is that he was just blinded by the moment. He's been anticipating this wish for years. His mistake is somewhat understandable. Despite this, I still believe Wind Waker Ganondorf is the smartest version. From wiping out the sages to luring Link into a battle that sapped his energy so that he could easily take the Triforce. It was a flawless plan up until the end. I guess you can say the same thing for Ocarina Ganon's plan, but in his case he underestimated Link's abilities. In the Wind Waker, Ganon made sure he didn't make that same mistake. So which Ganon do you think is the most intelligent, and why? Thanks for watching through to the end, and as always, I hope you all stay hyped. Love you guys. Peace!